Nintendo spent roughly $25,000 on this big, beautiful bird, only for her to be abandoned for 27 years. Maybe you don't recognize her. This might jog your memory.
Yahoo!
Now after watching that, you probably have a few questions. Why does Kazooie look like that? What's this? And why does she smell like a campfire from 1998?
The kind of smelly smell. The smelly smell that smells smelly.
If you have played on a Nintendo console before, there's a good chance you've seen this logo. What we now know as Rareware was established in 1982 and was initially called Ultimate Play the Game, founded by brothers Tim and Chris Stamper. 4 years later, they started a partnership with Nintendo. What they didn't know? They were going to set the video game world on fire. By the 90s, Rareware had banger after banger after banger. Let's take a look at the timeline.
Okay.
In 1991, they released Battletoads on the NES. By 94, Rareware developed the beloved Donkey Kong Country series, starting with the first Donkey Kong Country on Super Nintendo. In 97, Rareware absolutely cooked and released GoldenEye 007, a monumental step forward in multiplayer and breaking families apart. By 98, we got one of the best Donkey Kong games ever made.
Oh, banana.
And by the 2000s, they released Perfect Dark, and who could forget the iconic Conker's Bad Fur Day. Now let's back up for a sec. We flew right past 1998. What the fuck was that? 1998 was a special year for Rareware as they would give birth to one of their most important titles, Banjo-Kazooie, and it would become an instant classic. If you thought you waited a long time for GTA 6, let me tell you the story of Banjo-Kazooie. After Microsoft bought Rare in 2002, they published Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, and let's just say, the fans were less than happy about it. Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts was a completely different installment in the series, going from what was a fun, story-based adventure game with a focus on platforming and collectibles, to being about building vehicles that felt janky, and like someone got drunk, had never seen Banjo-Kazooie before, and after they made the game they went, "Yep, that'll do, that's what the kids want, they'll love that. Just look what they did to Kazooie."
Why don't they like it? We spent $250 million on this!
With the failure of Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts in 2002, fans were screaming from the rooftops to have their beloved duo back in action. And finally, after almost 20 years, Microsoft and Nintendo put their differences aside to work together by making Banjo-Kazooie the first Microsoft-owned character to be playable in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Banjo and Kazooie in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was the official reunion of Rareware's most iconic Nintendo duo after nearly 2 decades apart. If you have played the Nintendo 64, there's a good chance you've played either Banjo-Kazooie or Banjo-Tooie. Or maybe you're a more recent fan of Banjo-Kazooie with their entry into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Wow! How we got there, though, is a story of sadness and struggle. Now this is where Banjo's story stands today, and every story has a beginning, so let me take you back to the beginning, before the dark times. Now back in 1998, there was no YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Even Google wasn't out yet, so Rareware and Nintendo had to come up with a creative way to announce their new game. Let's check out one of the first ways that Banjo-Kazooie was introduced to the world.
You don't understand, it's after us. It's big! It's got huge teeth, a big beak, bulgy eyes, feathers, fur everywhere.
Yeah, and pigs can fly.
No bears can fly. Bad guys beware. Here comes Banjo-Kazooie.
Look, you're on TV.
With amazing powers. There's never been anything like this head-banging, sky-flying, rock-hopping, egg-shooting, tag-teaming duo. Banjo-Kazooie, only for Nintendo.
Look, you're on TV again, you're famous! This is how Banjo and Kazooie were announced to the world, presented as a Bigfoot horror story told by the campfire. While only appearing for a few seconds, the craziest part of the commercial isn't the horror story told by the campfire, it's that Banjo and Kazooie are both real life-sized props. There's no other way to say this. This thing is huge. Now let's take a look at how Kazooie was made, because Nintendo didn't spare any expenses to detail. Let's talk about Kazooie's wings, because they are incredible. The first thing is this over 6-foot wingspan. You'll notice that on each of the wings, we have a hook that allows her to be puppeteered and have the wings flap. The detail is actually insane. You have all these different layers that make the bird wing look so natural, and every single feather is dyed so meticulously. And each of the wings actually comes off individually. So what you'll see right here is what I'd call a secret compartment.
Secret compartment of my secret box.
When we lift the feathers up, you're actually gonna see this hinge right here. Now this hinge is actually what helps her be puppeteered, and what you'll see right where the hinge is a quick release pin. Now a puppet this large, puppet or an animatronic, cannot be transported through a normal door of this size. So you have to actually be able to remove pieces, and in this case we have these two gigantic wings that we're gonna then remove through this quick release pin. Now, what's the process for taking that wing off? We talked about that quick release pin. Now let's see what that looks like in action. So we're gonna push that quick release pin in and pull it out, and that wing's gonna come right off. Let's take a look at the detail in the eyes. It reminds me of something.
Stan, do you feel lighter? I'm definitely getting lighter. I think I'm becoming immune to gravity.
Let's take a look at Kazooie's legs, because the detail, I know I keep going back to the detail that Animated FX did, is incredible. They're actually made of rubber. Obviously there's gonna be some age and weathering that happen, but the claws, crikey, the claws. Although this is rubber, I know Steve Irwin would have a word or two about this. These look like real claws. These are really cool looking. Even the claws themselves, they look sharp. And then at the very bottom, what you're gonna notice is there are these hooks. Looking at the hook, we can infer that in the commercial, Kazooie is flying down and grabbing Banjo. So we can assume that the hook was used to attach onto the Banjo animatronic so the legs weren't moving around during the commercial. It's estimated that Nintendo paid $25,000 to have this Kazooie animatronic made. But who made it? When a commercial, movie, or TV show is done filming, the main actors go home, the crew packs up, but more often than not, the props meet an entirely different fate. Most of the time, these props are built for one job. It's incredibly rare when a company decides to store one of these props, and even when something gets stored, it doesn't mean it's being preserved correctly. And once it's forgotten about, it's typically gone forever. In case of the Banjo animatronic, the body was actually thrown away, and only the head remains. The Banjo animatronic was actually reused in a movie called The Edge. It's interesting, as these animatronics were used for the commercial, only for Kazooie to be abandoned and Banjo given a second life in a movie as Bart the Bear. The certificate of provenance states that the beak and wings flap, but here's the problem. The wires were cut, so Kazooie did not function. We knew this when we bought her and had a plan in place. Thankfully, I had just the person for the job. I called up my friend Travis Wood, owner of Woodman Classics. Hey Travis, I found this bird animatronic, but the wires were cut. Can you fix it?
Yeah, of course. I'd be happy to, man.
Thanks. I'll drop it off shortly. By the way, it's the Kazooie animatronic from the Banjo-Kazooie Nintendo 64 commercial. See you soon.
Wait, it's what?
Travis is a massive video game fan and creates special effects, statues, and costumes, and has worked with many companies, including Marvel, so I knew he would be the right person for the job. Now, if you haven't already, make sure to check out Travis's video on the full restoration. He did an incredible job. I'll make sure to put it down in the description. Let's take a look at a highlight from the video to see what his special guests had to say about it.
I am a professional puppeteer and puppet builder, and I've been doing this almost my whole life. And I've worked on a number of film and TV productions and built stuff for theme park.
I'm a professional puppeteer for theater, film, and television. Work with Sesame Street and the Jim Henson Company and all types of stuff on stage and on screen. Been doing that for, oh my God, 20 years, something like that. I cannot believe this thing is this big. Watching the commercials, I just assumed it was half the size.
This takes me back to an amazing time in like video game and like television. This era of video games, we're seeing these really low polygon models, and things are really simplified and pared down. And so it created a space where it was, you could still sort of speculate if we had an unlimited amount of detail, what might this thing look like? Like the Crash Bandicoot thing is another good example. Really punch this design up and show what it would look like if we had unlimited detail. Whereas now we kind of have as much as we want to play with, so you can see these characters rendered in as precise a way as the developers would want to. Had to have a whole separate person watching a monitor, doing an RC control, and then at the very least probably three, one doing the head and the butt, and one person each for wing.
In the intro, I showed off this Jiggy. In Banjo-Kazooie, this is the main collectible item that helps you unlock new worlds and progress in the game. Let's take a look at the Jiggy controller that Travis made for Kazooie. On the back, what you're gonna notice is this switch right here. There's a switch on Kazooie and a switch for the power for the remote control. So we're gonna power that on. You'll see an indicator light saying that it turned on, and you'll see this light right here. That's the Bluetooth connection. The green means good, it's connected to Kazooie. And what you're gonna see here in the middle is a dial, and the dial actually opens and closes her mouth. Now, Travis and his team made sure to code it so, for lack of a better term, she wouldn't rip her own jaw off. So there is a stopping point for Kazooie's mouth. And this is where the animatronic story ends for now. Now here at Mighty Mike Video Games, we love telling stories about rare historical items. If you have one, reach out to us. We'd love to talk about it. Now make sure to follow us for more rare video game content, and let us know in the comments what you thought of this video. Thank you.